to my Khan Academy presentation. My name is Robert Bakar, and I'm currently a student at Dominican University in class EDU 776, which is a class that is going to help me get my master's in technology specialist. I'm also a teacher at Roosevelt Middle School in River Forest, Illinois. Part of this presentation is going to kind of highlight my middle school background. I will kind of take that as a focus when explaining some things, and also just kind of as a teacher in general. So what you can expect from this presentation is I'm going to pretty much go over what is Khan Academy, what are the basics and the nitty-gritty details of it, how can we use it with students, how can students use it at home, or how can parents use it with their students, or how can teachers use it with their students. I'm going to go over briefly the pros and cons of Khan Academy. For every pro, there is a con. That's varies with various programs and softwares. There always is a con of some kind. And then obviously throughout the presentation, I'll go over some other information as it pops up. So first and foremost, what is Khan Academy? Khan Academy, they pride themselves as a personalized learning resource for all ages. Their mission statement is simple, and it's on the screen. Our mission is to provide a free, world-class education to anyone, anywhere. And I also wanted to highlight that Khan Academy is a nonprofit company, which is big and key in understanding Khan Academy's concept. So let's actually look at their About Me page to figure out more. When you're looking at Khan Academy's page, you'll see that, like I said, it is a personalized learning resource for all ages. They really look at each student. They give them a quiz, various resources to find out what their needs are. They are currently always accepting people as part of their team. And here's where I want to stop and look at the most. It is for free for everyone, forever. That is one of Khan Academy's key principles. They're not like other websites where you get ads that pop up or subscriptions that are required. Typically in the teaching world, that is very common for us to have students go on YouTube or various resources and have an ad pop up or be required to use a subscription, and then you have to go through the tech department or the school to get funding for it. Khan Academy is free, and that's very key because a lot of our schools don't always have the funds to have various programs, and Khan Academy prides themselves as being free. And if you're interested in donating or volunteering, they do have the resources for doing that down here. A little bit more about Khan Academy. They do provide resources for the following subjects. Math. I want to highlight math because they do go from kindergarten through high school. Science and engineering, various branches of those. Computing, arts and humanities, economics, finances, test prep, and much more. They kind of go over the whole student. They go even a little bit before kindergarten when they go with early math. They look at college prep, a lot of college prep, ACT and SAT prep. It's kind of for all ages. They even have personal finance support. The resources for each of the subjects and each of the things include lessons that dive into videos, exercises, and even quizzes, and tests to test your knowledge. But don't let me just tell you about this. Let me show you this, because I really think that in order to see the benefits of Khan Academy, I need to walk you through it. So as a 7th grade teacher who does co-teach mathematics classes, and I've worked with kids for 4 years with mathematics in the middle school setting, let me go over and show you what they have for 7th grade math. So I'm pulling up the Khan Academy website, and the first thing I'm noticing is that they have the Explore option, which goes over various topics that align with the Common Core standards. Like I said, I do co-teach math, and I've done it so for a few years, so I do know the principles of 7th grade math, and I can tell you right now that this kind of actually follows the scope and sequence of a really proper 7th grade mathematics course. So it does go over the Common Core standards. We do go over geometry, we go over statistics and probability, geometry, ratios are big in 7th grade. So that's the Explore option. They do have a class that they do offer that is kind of like an online class that's offered in New York and through Eureka Math. We have the Practice option, which I'll go over in a little bit. So that's kind of the overview of what it appears when you go on a subject. As I was saying earlier, they do have many other subjects. They do even offer, under Arts and Humanities, a basic overview of history. I will go over as a con later some of my thoughts on that. But they do have math through 8th grade with the Common Core, and then they also have specific subjects. So when a kid goes to high school, if they're taking algebra or trig, they have these options on the left-hand side. So how is it used with students? Well, there are many different ways it can be used with students. The first things first, it helps them identify a area where they need to work on in a certain subject. So going back to that math principle, I want to look at a lesson if a student needed help with negative numbers. So let's look at this. I'm opening up the Khan Academy website. I'm seeing right now the lesson for intro to adding negative numbers. I'm going to figure out personally where I need to grow. So let's click Start Quiz 1. If I'm a student, I can log on and see, I have a test on this coming up, or I'm previewing this. It's the next unit my teacher is giving me. I can see where I need help, what I already have mastered, and if there's an area I can even help a peer out with. One of the things I do as a teacher is I like cooperative learning. So this would be a way for a student to really see where they've mastered so that they can help the classmates out. So let's start the quiz. As you can see, they give you various problems. They have 8 problems in total. This problem reads, which expression is equivalent to 11 minus parentheses, negative 3 5/8. So if we do this, the negative distributes, so it becomes a positive. We're going to go with A. Okay, and it says we did good. So we could go throughout this and we could take the quiz, and at the end they do generally go over the areas that we need to work on. And that would be a focus. As a teacher looking at this, I could tell a student to focus on certain topics based on that quiz. As a parent, I could say the same thing and have my student work on those. Or as a student, I could be aware and work on those subjects on my own. How is it used? So not just for the quiz, but there are videos that go along with the lessons. There's various lessons that go with those areas of need or strength that a student may have after that quiz. So let's look at one of those videos. They have a video for each lesson. Before we watch the video, I do want to say, as a special education teacher, I do vouch that if you look here, they have the transcript. The transcript is huge because they literally say what's going on at all times. So a student that might need that visual support that doesn't always get things auditory, this is huge. And same with their videos overall. So we'll watch 30 seconds.
Find the sum of negative 15 plus negative 46 plus negative 29. To do this, let's just first visualize what each of these numbers look like. So I'm going to draw a number line for each of them. Negative 15 might look something like this. So if this is 0, and let's say that this is negative 15, I could represent negative 15 as, if I'd like to, an arrow that points from 0 to negative 15. The length of the arrow is the absolute value of this.
So I just want to give a little 30 seconds of what the sound sounds like and what the video does look like. If you can't tell, it's very colorful. They do draw things out. That's very key for our students, is the visual piece and the auditory piece. They do have the subtitles going down here, and they do have the transcripts. One of the keys of the transcripts is if I click on it, it goes to that part. So if I'm later on, after I watch the video and I'm doing my math homework and I say, hey, what was that one part? I can look down and I remember doing positives. I remember doing negatives. I could look at certain parts of the video. That's very key. I think that's huge as a teacher myself, especially a special education teacher. So first they have the video lessons. That's the first way it can be used with students, is the video lessons. The second way is the practice problem. So after watching the video, let's say you're a parent at home, you had your kid watch the video, and now you want to see what they know. So we could go to, they watched the videos, we could actually practice some of the problems. So let's do signs of sums. It's going to pop up here. Let's see, what is the sign of negative 456 plus 456? Is it a positive, negative, or 0? Let's see if I get this wrong. Let's say it's a negative. It says give it another try. So let's see if we get help. Get help, they actually walk you through the problem. And that's big because sometimes with some programs it doesn't really do that. It's big that they've spent the time to actually go through why the answer is actually 0. But they do have other problems to try to see if I mastered that topic. They do have that for each of the videos and lessons that they have. And at the end, you could take the quiz that you did at the beginning to see if you've mastered the topics. And at the very end, there's a unit test on negative numbers. So if you passed all 3 quizzes to do absolute values, to do adding and subtracting fractions, adding and subtracting just negative numbers, multiplying them, you could take the unit test to see if you are ready to master the subject in school. So that's the second way. The first way that we talked about was the video lessons. It's a perfect strategy. The second way is the practice problems. And the third way is that test I was talking to you about. I do want to talk about that unit test because that would be key. If I'm a teacher and I know there's a unit test coming up on negative numbers, we've gone over it all of September, I might have my kids for homework screenshot that they've taken the unit test as practice. I don't think I would actually do that as the test itself, but I might actually give it for homework for the kids to try. So, similar to all the other things, this one does have 15 problems, but they go over the various subjects of the negative numbers, not just the one part I went over in the beginning. It goes through all the various topics: intro to adding negative numbers, intro to subtracting negative numbers. As you can see, it has each like subheading, each branch of that overall subject is mentioned: negative numbers, adding and subtraction, including fractions, including absolute values. So I could do all of that within 15 questions. That'd be a good gauge if I was a student at home. If I needed to work on a certain topic, let's say I got 3 problems wrong and they were on a certain subject, I could go back and rewatch those videos the night before the test or even the day of or a few days beforehand, whatever the time frame is. So that's kind of the 3 huge resources I want to look at for students. There's the video lessons, there's the practice problems, and there's tests and quizzes throughout to make sure that you're comprehending the information. Those are some of the bigger resources. So the pros of Khan Academy. The things that I've found and that I've seen from talking to colleagues, it's easily accessible. The biggest key here is it's free. Many districts, especially with funding, can't always afford many websites or different apps or programs. So Khan Academy is free, and that's huge for our students. It can be used on Chromebooks, iPads, and other technology. They do have an iOS app and an Android app that you could just use the website if you want. It's accessible also because of the transcripts and subtitles. I think that's huge, especially as a special education teacher for students that have hearing difficulties or need that extra visual. It's perfect. There are various subjects offered. They offer math, they offer sciences, they offer some arts and humanities, and they offer college help. They do offer they offer the in-depth videos and practice, which I think is as important as the rest of it. Those are good lessons to have. A great additional resource is the reinforcement for a lesson. I don't necessarily believe that Khan Academy is something that a student could just learn on their own and wouldn't necessarily need that adult help with this, but it's a great additional resource if they want help after a lesson that their teacher has presented. It is a great resource for parents to help their children out as well. I think it's something that parents could encourage the use of at home. But with the pros, there are some cons. Some of the cons of Khan Academy is only one way of teaching. Really, they only show one way of doing math problems when we know that there's multiple ways of doing problems. Oftentimes in the classroom, we do say, hey, if you could find that math problem a different way, go ahead and do it. They don't necessarily offer that with Khan Academy just because it is a basic video that's going over the overview of the lesson. They don't often go over the more than one method. Another con is obviously it doesn't have that face-to-face attention with a tutor or teacher. So it is very virtual. There is some feedback, but it is always better, as we know, to have a teacher or tutor working with a student when learning these topics. It also does not promote cooperative learning. It's kind of an individualistic activity. It's not something that you could really have students do in pairs unless they were just to share the screen. It's really just meant for one person. And really it focuses primarily on math and science. There are some social studies topics like AP History, AP Humanities, but they really don't do as much for social studies and for writing. They do some grammar stuff on there, but really for the younger ages, they don't focus as much on social studies. So as a 7th grade teacher who has students that take the Constitution test, I can't really give them any resources on there that much. Just based on what I've seen, it's kind of over their head if they're looking at AP US history stuff in 7th grade. So what's the final verdict here? The final verdict for me as a teacher is I think this is a great resource, but I definitely don't think it can replace a teacher or tutor assistance. If you're a homeschool student, you might have some help with this for the lessons, but I really think that this should just be an additional resource. It can't really replace being the teacher or the tutor. I think it could be an additional resource to use at home for extra practice or for extra practice in the classroom when you're done with the lesson or even for homework. But I think it should just be a supplemental aid. I'm going to be posting underneath this presentation 5 different resources that kind of go along with my presentation. One will include a pros and cons list that a professional website has. One will include an interview with the Khan Academy founder. Look for those. And down here, I also have the citations for the websites. I mainly use the Khan Academy website, as you can see, through the videos and the lessons. The pictures I got were also from various websites. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this helpful. Please feel free to contact me with any other information, or if you want more information, look for the resources that we'll post. Have a great evening.